Amid the raging American Civil War, one man's story stands as a powerful testament to loyalty, regret, and the haunting toll of war. Enter James Longstreet, a name synonymous with both respect and controversy. Born in South Carolina in 1821, he rose from humble beginnings to become one of General Robert E. Lee's closest commanders. As the war's tide shifted, so did Longstreet's fate, marked by difficult decisions at pivotal battles like Gettysburg. What drove him to make choices that strained friendships and shadowed his legacy? How did those battles haunt him throughout his life? As we explore the complexities of Longstreet's journey, his rise from early victories to the bitter consequences of defeat, expect unexpected twists, moral quandaries, and an unyielding pursuit of honor amid chaos. Get ready for a gripping narrative, where every decision carries weight and the pursuit of redemption is as fierce as the battles themselves. But before we dive into this historic odyssey, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more captivating stories. Born on January 8, 1821, in South Carolina's Edgefield district, Longstreet grew up amidst Southern traditions. Raised with values of honor, hard work, and loyalty, James was the fifth of nine children in a farming family. His father, James Longstreet Sr., played a vital role in instilling resilience, while his mother, Mary and Dent Longstreet, emphasized moral integrity. At 17, he entered West Point, beginning his military career. Despite graduating near the bottom of his class in 1842, he formed strong bonds with future leaders like Ulysses S. Grant. After West Point, Longstreet joined the U.S. Army, serving in the Indian Wars and the Mexican-American War, where he proved his courage at battles like Veracruz and Monterrey. Notably, at the Battle of Chapultepec, he was wounded but continued leading his men, earning him a brevet promotion to major. As tensions escalated in the 1850s, Longstreet found himself torn between duty and regional loyalty. By 1861, with the nation on the brink of civil war, he chose to resign from the Union Army, aligning with the Confederacy. His decision, like many Southern officers, was driven by a sense of duty to his home state. Soon, he was promoted to brigadier general and commanded troops at the First Battle of Bull Run, showcasing steady leadership under fire. By 1862, he had earned the rank of major general, playing a critical role in key campaigns like the Peninsula Campaign and Second Manassas, where he executed a decisive flank attack that shifted momentum in favor of the Confederacy. Yet, his military journey was not without challenges. As Longstreet advanced northward with Lee during the Maryland Campaign, he faced the bloody conflict of Antietam, a testament to his tactical acumen and unwavering resolve. Despite his battlefield successes, Longstreet's story is not just one of victories, but of a man navigating the harsh realities of war and its aftermath. Amidst the chaos of the Civil War, James Longstreet's defensive tactics shone brightly, even as the Confederates were outnumbered and outgunned at Antietam. His ability to manage battlefield turmoil allowed the Confederate Army to retreat in good order, avoiding disaster. While Antietam ended in a tactical stalemate, it was strategically significant, pushing Lee's forces back into Virginia. Despite this outcome, Longstreet's performance solidified his reputation as one of the Confederacy's most capable generals, demonstrating strength in both attack and defense. By late 1862, he had become a cornerstone of Lee's Army of Northern Virginia, and as the war entered its third year, Longstreet's role grew even more crucial. Longstreet rose from an obscure officer to a central figure in the Confederate war effort, but the greatest challenges and controversies still lay ahead. The battles to come would not only test his tactical skills, but also his relationships, particularly with General Robert E. Lee. By summer 1863, Longstreet was among Lee's most trusted commanders, having earned a reputation as a brilliant tactician. However, the Battle of Gettysburg, which would define his legacy, was about to unfold. Following their victory at Chancellorsville, Lee embarked on an ambitious campaign to invade the North, aiming to draw the Union Army into a decisive engagement on Northern soil. Longstreet, commanding the First Corps, was a pivotal part of Lee's plan. Arriving in Gettysburg on July 1st, 1863, the Confederates initially pushed Union forces southward to defensive positions along Cemetery Ridge. But as the battle continued, Longstreet and Lee clashed over strategy. Lee sought a direct assault, hoping to break Union lines, while Longstreet advocated a flanking maneuver to force the Union into attacking on more advantageous ground. Despite Longstreet's objections, Lee insisted on a frontal assault, leading to brutal clashes at the Peach Orchard, Wheatfield, and the Round Tops. These assaults saw fierce resistance from Union forces, including a legendary defense by the 20th Maine. As casualties mounted, Longstreet grew increasingly doubtful of the offensive strategy. On July 3rd, Lee ordered the infamous Pickett's Charge, a bold but disastrous attempt to breach the Union center at Cemetery Ridge. Despite serious misgivings, Longstreet followed orders. At 3 p.m., 12,500 Confederate soldiers charged across a mile of open ground, only to be met with devastating artillery and musket fire. The attack, later known as Pickett's Charge, ended in catastrophe, with over half of the Confederate forces killed, wounded, or captured. Longstreet, watching from a distance, could do nothing but witness the defeat unfold. Gettysburg marked a major turning point in the Civil War, casting a long shadow over Longstreet's life. The defeat not only shattered the Confederate Army's momentum, but also strained Longstreet's relationship with Lee. The retreat back to Virginia was somber, with Longstreet burdened by the cost of the battle and the weight of unrealized potential. The defeat at Gettysburg haunted Longstreet for the rest of his life, becoming a central part of his legacy. In the years that followed his decisions, there would be both criticized and defended, leaving his legacy intensely debated among historians. As the war continued, Longstreet faced more challenges. Sent to Tennessee to support General Braxton Bragg's army, Longstreet encountered both strategic and personal conflicts. Tasked with leading the Knoxville campaign, he struggled with difficult terrain, inadequate supplies, and fierce Union resistance. Despite setbacks, Longstreet remained committed to the Confederate cause, his loyalty unwavering. However, his cautious approach often clashed with Lee's aggressive tactics, creating ongoing tensions that would shape the remainder of the war. Longstreet's legacy, marked by tactical brilliance, complex relationships, and enduring controversy, would be remembered long after the final shots of the Civil War were fired. James Longstreet's forces faced a daunting task against Ambrose Burnside's well-fortified Union defenses at Knoxville. The most notable moment was the failed assault on Fort Sanders, where Confederate troops suffered heavy losses in an attempt to breach the stronghold. The defeat at Knoxville was a severe blow to Longstreet's reputation, worsened by poor support from General Bragg and a lack of coordination. Longstreet's frustration with Bragg's leadership grew, leading to increasing criticism and even rumors of a potential coup to replace Bragg. However, these plans never materialized, and by spring 1864, Longstreet withdrew his forces to Virginia. Upon his return, he rejoined Lee's army in time for the grueling Overland Campaign. Against this old friend, Union General Ulysses S. Grant. The campaign was a brutal series of battles, marked by the Battle of the Wilderness on May 5, 1864. The dense forest created chaos, but Longstreet's steady leadership helped repel Union attacks. On May 6th, however, disaster struck. Longstreet was accidentally shot by his own men, a near-fatal friendly fire incident that echoed the fate of Thomas Stonewall Jackson a year earlier. Severely wounded, he was forced off the battlefield and into a slow recovery. While he recuperated, the Confederates faced mounting challenges against Grant's relentless push toward Richmond. Longstreet returned to duty in October 1864, but by then the war's momentum had shifted decisively in the Union's favor. The final chapter of his military career unfolded during the Siege of Petersburg, a prolonged and bloody standoff that stretched from June 1864 to April 1865. Despite his injuries, Longstreet played a crucial role in the defense, employing his tactical skill to delay Union advances. But as supplies dwindled and morale collapsed, the Confederate lines finally broke in April 1865, leading to a retreat toward Appomattox Courthouse. On April 9, 1865, General Lee surrendered to Grant, marking the end of the Civil War. Though not present at the surrender, Longstreet witnessed the Confederate collapse with dignity, praising Grant for his respectful treatment of Southern soldiers. With the war over, Longstreet faced a daunting new chapter in a shattered South. He returned to Gainesville, Georgia, struggling to rebuild his life amid the post-war ruins. Physically and emotionally scarred by the conflict, he faced difficulties in finding work due to his Confederate association. Longstreet's post-war journey took a surprising turn when he accepted a federal position under President Grant, a move that made him a target of criticism in the South. His support for Reconstruction, including African American suffrage, led to him being labeled a scalawag, or Southern collaborator, with Republicans. His decision to support a reunited nation came at a personal cost, resulting in ostracism from Confederate veterans and Southern society. In 1874, during the violent Battle of Liberty Place in New Orleans, Longstreet commanded a racially integrated militia against the White League, highlighting the intense divisions of Reconstruction. Determined to clarify his legacy, Longstreet published his memoirs From Manassas to Appomattox, defending his actions at Gettysburg and his wartime decisions. The memoirs sparked renewed debate, with some viewing them as vindication while others saw them as an attempt to reshape history. In his later years, Longstreet lived quietly in Gainesville, reflecting on a life defined by war and efforts toward reconciliation. He passed away on January 2, 1904, at 82, one of the last surviving Confederate generals. Longstreet's legacy is one of complex loyalties, evolving beliefs, and a relentless pursuit of honor, even as he adapted to a changing world. His journey, from fierce Confederate general to advocate for national unity, challenges us to reconsider what it means to be loyal in a divided nation. What do you think? Was Longstreet a traitor to the South, or a visionary who sought healing in a fractured country? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more historical stories that provoke thought and spark dialogue. What if history has only scratched the surface of Robert E. Lee's true story? Often painted as a divisive figure, Lee remains a blend of admiration and criticism. Born into a legacy of military prestige at Stratford Hall in 1807, Lee's life was shaped by triumphs and trials that not only influenced his personal destiny, but also the fate of a divided nation. While he's widely recognized as a tactical genius on the battlefield, few know of the personal challenges and moral conflicts that plagued him. His journey began among Virginia's Southern aristocracy, learning the ideals of honor and duty that would guide his career. Lee's path to military success was not straightforward. He endured family tragedies, including the death of his father and mother, and faced the complex burden of managing his father-in-law's estate, which included enslaved individuals. This moral dilemma weighed heavily on him, as he found slavery reprehensible, but struggled with how to uphold the law and fulfill his obligations. As the nation teetered on the brink of civil war, Lee faced the ultimate test of loyalty. Should he defend his beloved Virginia or uphold his duty to the Union? When Lincoln offered him command of Union forces, Lee chose instead to stand with Virginia, knowing it would forever shape his legacy and the course of the war. His decision marked a pivotal moment, propelling him to lead the Confederate Army of Northern Virginia. Lee's early military career was marked by brilliance, rising to second in his class at West Point and excelling in engineering assignments along the eastern seaboard. But the Mexican-American War, from 1846 to 1848, was a defining chapter where Lee showcased his strategic skills. Serving under General Winfield Scott, he was praised for his role in the battles of Veracruz and Chapultepec. It was here that he met a young Ulysses S. Grant, laying the foundation for a future rivalry. After the Mexican War, Lee returned to civilian life, balancing duties at Arlington House, the estate he inherited, with his military career. His next role as superintendent of West Point reflected his commitment to shaping future officers. Yet the call of active service pulled him away as tensions rose between the North and South. By 1861, Lee found himself at the center of the nation's conflict, taking command of Virginia's forces as secession spread across the South. Lee's leadership in the early battles of the Civil War, including the Peninsula Campaign and Second Manassas, demonstrated his tactical brilliance despite limited resources. However, the war's tide turned against him at the Battle of Antietam in 1862, a tactical draw that became a strategic setback for the Confederacy, leading to Lincoln's issuance of the Emancipation Proclamation. Lee's subsequent victories at Fredericksburg and Chancellorsville cemented his reputation as a formidable commander, but also set the stage for a critical decision: the invasion of the North. The Battle of Gettysburg in July 1863 became the defining moment of Lee's career. Despite early successes, the battle ended in disaster for the Confederacy after the failed assault known as Pickett's Charge. The defeat forced Lee to retreat to Virginia, marking a turning point in the war. Gettysburg haunted Lee for the rest of his life, as he grappled with the implications of his decisions and the immense loss of life. As the war dragged on, Lee's resilience was tested during the grueling Overland Campaign and the Siege of Petersburg, where dwindling supplies and exhausted troops made victory increasingly elusive. By April 1865, Lee's army was forced to retreat, culminating in the surrender at Appomattox Courthouse. Lee's decision to surrender was a bitter but honorable choice, prioritizing the preservation of his men over continued resistance. Post-war life was no easier for Lee, who sought to promote reconciliation and healing in a fractured nation. His acceptance of defeat and efforts to rebuild relationships with the North were controversial in the South, where some viewed him as a traitor for abandoning the cause. Despite this, Lee's commitment to unity remained steadfast, even as he struggled with the personal consequences of war. Lee's later years were marked by quiet reflection at Washington College, where he served as president and advocated for a peaceful reunification of the country. His death in 1870 closed a chapter on one of the Civil War's most complex figures, a man torn between duty, loyalty, and moral conflicts. As we unravel Robert E. Lee's story, we find a leader whose decisions were shaped by complex motivations, not just a desire for victory, but a profound sense of duty to his home. What do you think? Was Lee driven by principle, or was he a product of his times? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe for more stories that challenge our understanding of history and the people who shaped it. After the devastating defeat at Gettysburg, Robert E. Lee's retreat was complicated by heavy rains that trapped his army at the Potomac River. As Union General George Meade approached, Lee skillfully constructed strong entrenchments that prevented a Union assault. Though Meade faced criticism for not pressing his advantage, his caution allowed Lee to escape back into Virginia. By 1864, the Civil War entered a brutal phase as Ulysses S. Grant became the Union's commander-in-chief. Grant launched a relentless campaign against Lee, turning the war into a test of endurance that ravaged the South. Lee's forces managed tactical draws at battles like Spotsylvania Courthouse and the Wilderness, but the stress of war was taking its toll on Lee, who was suffering from dysentery, a potentially fatal illness in the 1860s. Despite his condition, Lee ordered his men to dig in around Cold Harbor, initiating one of the earliest instances of trench warfare in the East. When Grant launched a massive assault, it turned into a massacre, with Union forces losing approximately 18,000 men, 5,000 of whom fell in just 20 minutes. Lee's defensive victory at Cold Harbor was significant, yet Grant's broader overland campaign succeeded strategically as he crossed the James River and targeted Petersburg, a key supply hub. Understanding Petersburg's importance, Lee quickly fortified the city, but Grant responded by constructing extensive trenches, setting the stage for a prolonged siege from June 1864 to March 1865. As the siege wore on, Lee was named Commander-in-Chief of Confederate forces, giving him unprecedented authority. With Savannah lost by December 1864, Lee proposed using freed slaves as soldiers, an idea that gained some support. He also ordered raids on Union positions, hoping to disrupt Grant's supply lines. However, Union General Philip Sheridan defeated Confederate General Jubal Early, marking a critical blow to Lee's plans. By April 1865, Richmond was vulnerable, and Lee's depleted army abandoned their trenches, seeking to regroup with General Joseph Johnston's forces. However, exhaustion and mounting desertions hampered the retreat. On April 9, 1865, Lee met with Grant at Appomattox Courthouse to surrender, acknowledging the inevitable. Grant's terms were generous. Confederate soldiers would not be prosecuted if they laid down their arms. After signing the surrender, Lee emerged from the McLean house in silence, as Union soldiers stood respectfully. Grant, along with other officers, removed his hat in tribute to Lee's dignity. Returning to Richmond, Lee faced a changed world. His home, Arlington House, had been seized and converted into Arlington National Cemetery, a poignant symbol of the war's toll. In the years that followed, Lee advocated for reconciliation, seeking to heal the nation's wounds. Despite false rumors linking him to Lincoln's assassination, Lee remained focused on rebuilding ties between North and South. He later became president of Washington College, a role that allowed him to promote education and unity during the Reconstruction era. Lee's post-war years were marked by personal introspection and a commitment to education. He supported Reconstruction measures, including emancipation, but believed that former slaves needed education before being granted voting rights, a stance rooted more in paternalism than overt racism. During this period, President Ulysses S. Grant, his former battlefield adversary, invited Lee to the White House as a gesture of reconciliation. Lee, however, avoided political debates, focusing instead on his role as an educator and mentor at Washington College. In 1870, Robert E. Lee suffered a stroke, passing away on October 12. His funeral was a simple affair, and he was buried beneath the chapel at Washington College, which was later renamed Washington and Lee University. The legacy of Robert E. Lee remains one of profound complexity, marked by both his brilliance as a military strategist and the moral contradictions of his decisions. Was he a hero, a villain, or simply a man caught in the tide of history? Lee's life invites us to grapple with the nuanced nature of leadership and the burdens it carries. As we examine his legacy, we confront broader questions about history, identity, and how we remember the past. Was Lee's choice to defend Virginia an act of loyalty, or did it come at too great a moral cost? What can his story teach us about honor, duty, and the consequences of deeply divided beliefs? We invite you to share your thoughts below. How do you interpret Lee's actions, and what do they reveal about leadership in moments of crisis? Join the conversation and keep exploring history's complex figures. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more discussions that delve into the people and events that have shaped our world.